Hi, this is Dr. Paul Inselman, and welcome to what every chiropractor must know to thrive in the present 2013 economy and beyond. And we're going to pay a special focus today on the consultation and the report of findings. This program has been researched and produced as a service to our great profession by Inselman Coaching. You know, every day I speak to chiropractors across the entire United States and Canada, and I have to tell you that many of our brother and sister chiropractors are really hurting in this economy. We're at a crossroads with our profession, and I truly believe that by helping one chiropractor, one office at a time, we will begin to rebuild our great profession. So what we covered today are some disturbing trends in our profession, the 12 challenges that every chiropractor must overcome in order to survive. But you know what? I don't want you to think in terms of just surviving. I want you to thrive. So we're going to talk about critical steps that every chiropractor must need in order to thrive in the present current environment. We're also going to talk about, and that's the focus of today, how to perform a proper consultation and a proper report of findings. When I say proper, you must do a consultation and a report of findings that creates value for your patient. If you're not doing that, that's a challenge. We're also going to talk about 6 additional challenges and how finally you can get some help yourself. Let's go over some statistics and trends. According to Chiropractic Economics, the May 22nd of 2012 edition, in 2008 the average chiropractic salary was $111,263. That has dropped in 2012 to $82,500, or a 28% decrease from last year. The hours worked, according to the same study, in 2008 chiropractors worked 31 hours per week, and we crept up until we've reached a pinnacle in 2010 of 33.3 hours, and then we crept back down, and in 2012 we're working on average 31.6 hours per week. Patient visits per week, according to the same study, in 2008 chiropractors were seeing 120 visits per week. In 2011 we went up to 122.5 visits per week, and then in 2012 we fell off of a proverbial cliff, and we're now seeing 106.5 visits per week. The same study, PVA, in 2008 our PVA was 33.7 visits. In 2011 we saw a whopping 60.2 visits as our PVA, and in 2012 we fell off a proverbial cliff again, where we're seeing 21.4 visits on average as our PVA. So let's go over some analysis. Chiropractors are working longer hours. Chiropractors are seeing fewer new patients. Chiropractors' PVAs are worsening. Chiropractors are earning a whole lot less money. And the bottom line, our chiropractors are working harder. We are not working smarter. So what do the experts say? Well, the same study from Chiropractic Economics talked about, because of these headwinds, it's important that all healthcare providers, not just chiropractors, understand the business side of running and maintaining a practice. As we've stated before, DCs did not go to school to learn how to run a business. They went to school to get sick patients well. On January 5th of 2012, CNN wrote an article entitled, "Doctors Are Going Broke." And they were quoted as saying most doctors in private practice experience a 10 to 15% profit leak, which can lead to significant losses in your bank account. So why is this happening? It's scary to think that 1 out of 2 Americans, that's 1 out of 2 people that are sitting in your waiting room right now, are very uncomfortable with the amount of their household debt. This is a problem because this national debt is of epidemic proportions. If we then factor in high gas prices, we haven't even seen the iceberg yet. We're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. And what I mean by that is we really haven't seen inflation yet. You know, it costs so much more money to truck a carrot that has grown in California to New York. And what ends up happening is because of these high gas prices, eventually we're going to have major inflation. You can see it now when you walk into the supermarket. Eggs, cheese, beef, poultry, they're all higher in price. So if you now couple that with a very bad housing market, and then couple that with where we've been over the last couple of years with extremely high unemployment, what it does is it decimates the middle class, and it makes them and puts them into the lower class, while it puts the lower class into the poverty level. Now what's happening is a majority of Americans now say that they are worried about making their mortgage or their rent payments. And then, of course, we have government regulation. I don't know if you heard what happened here in the state of Florida, but we went from a $10,000 PIP cap with no referral needed to a $2,500 PIP cap with a referral needed to go to a chiropractor. They're also citing the success of the Medicare program, and they're talking about further cuts in payments to doctors in the Medicare program. And we all know how good that's been for us. So what does this mean for patients? Well, people have to choose between paying for your services and food and gas and rent and their mortgage payments. They have school payments for their kids. They'd like a car. They'd like to go on vacation. And they do need health insurance. What does this mean for you? The roller coaster ride. If you've been in practice any longer than 2 or 3 years, I'm sure you can relate to that really nice roller coaster ride. Patients are coming in, money's flowing like wine, everything is great, and then all of a sudden it shuts off and you hit that hairpin turn and that big stomach-wrenching drop. The roller coaster ride. So, according to that chiropractic economics study, chiropractic income is down $33,000. What does $33,000 buy? Well, it buys a whole lot of gas at $4 a gallon. If you have credit card debt, it could save you about $5,000 a year. It could buy you a 2013 Ford Mustang, and it can get you 4 years of tuition at the University of Florida as a resident state fee. It can also give you a very nice down payment on a house. So chiropractors are staying awake, worrying about higher bills, fewer new patients, more government regulations, and lower profits. So what are some of the wrong steps to take? The first wrong step that most chiropractors take is they will cut advertising. You see, commercial clutter makes it very hard to get noticed. Commercial clutter is this. Think of the number of emails that are sitting in your box. Think of the number of text messages that you get. Think of all the print advertising, radio advertising, and TV advertising that hits you every day. Well, it hits everybody else also. So what happens is chiropractors think that by cutting advertising they're going to save money. The challenge is that we need more exposure, not less. So that's the first wrong step to take. The second wrong step that chiropractors make is that they cut their advisors. They'll cut their accountants, they'll cut their coaches, they'll cut their legal team. But it's important to note that these people were hired. Why? Because they're there to advise you in good times and bad. And quite frankly, we need more advice in bad times because we get emotionally involved. So an advisor is a neutral third party that doesn't get emotionally involved. Can you think of Donald Trump saying to his advisors, you're fired, the economy's bad? It's never going to happen. What about President Obama? Can you imagine him saying to the cabinet, you're fired, go home, the economy's bad? So that's a wrong step to take. Do not cut your advisors. The last wrong step the chiropractors make is they fire staff, they cut staff. Think about it. Why did you hire your staff? Because they're great. And economies change. All economies that are good get bad, and all bad economies that are bad get good. And when the economy turns, you're going to need your staff. But if you've released them to the pool, what happens now is they'll get sucked up by another chiropractor, another industry, whatever, and you've lost that great staff person. Now when the things turn around and you need staff people, you're really not going in to the good end of the employment pool. These are the people that have been cut that are left. So that's another wrong step to take. So what are some right steps to take? Well, so what are some correct steps to take? Well, number one, you must be proactive. Most chiropractors are reactive and put fires out all day. I have to tell you that when I first start coaching clients, most of the time, for the first, I'd say month or so, it's about putting out fires until I teach them how to become organized and how to become proactive, and then they don't have to become reactive because they're anticipating, so they're not putting out fires anymore. The second thing is chiropractors typically are not very organized, so you must improve your organizational skills. And you must spend time on your business, not just in your business. And you must learn how to run a business. Let's go back to number 2 for a second. When I say you must spend time on your business, you must be able to train your staff. You must be able to create budgets. You must be able to generate profit and loss statements. You must be able to do your notes. You must be able to spend time on your business. And in order to learn how to run a business, we need general business skills. You must know how to read a profit and loss statement, a balance sheet. You must know how to calculate return on investment. You must know how to do a cash disbursements book, and you must know how to create budgets. If you don't know those basic business-oriented things, then I recommend that you get a book, go back to school, whatever you need to do. We're also positioning our clients in a defensive posture and an offensive posture as we go forward. I know it sounds like an oxymoron, but let me explain. Defensively, what my clients are doing is we're having them build up cash reserves that are equal to 1 year's personal and 1 year's business expenses. Now, I understand that you probably don't have an extra $40, $50, or $60,000 lying around in your back pocket. But what I'm saying is make that your goal and start small. I don't care if you put $2 a day away, $2 a week away, whatever. Put something away to start building up your cash reserves. The next thing that we're doing is we are creating an offensive approach, that we are creating very large strategic-based marketing campaigns. When I say very large, it doesn't mean large budget. It means a number of campaigns that cross-refer and also separately, singularly refer, and they're all based in strategy. It's very important that chiropractors practice the 3 P's in order to run a successful practice. 3 P's, policies. You must have policies that have been created in this economy. Very, very important. Example, we used to have a policy a couple of years back that we would allow a patient to carry a balance no higher than $300. Well, with patients being literally 1 paycheck away from being unemployed, we had to change that policy, and now our policy is you can no longer carry a balance higher than $150. Next, procedures. Your procedures must be created in this economy. You know, I evaluated one of my clients' paperwork, and his paperwork was fine. It was an old Parker document from the late 70s. The problem is that there was no place to capture a cell phone number or an email address because those technologies did not exist back in the late 70s. So you must make sure that your procedures are created in this economy, and you must be able to plan ahead so you're able to move your practice forward. And that brings us to the focus of today's webinar: how to perform a proper consultation and report of findings. If you would like to email us at inselmancoaching@gmail.com, we'll be more than happy to mail you consultation notes that you can use after you view this webinar. So the consultation checklist, these are the guidelines for an effective conversion. You see, the purpose of doing a proper consultation is twofold. Number one, it is to uphold the standards of care. If you are ever sued, God forbid, you want to make sure that you have done a proper consultation and a proper examination. If you didn't do any one of those, you will automatically lose the case. The next reason why we do a proper consultation is to discover why the patient is really there. You see, your patient is going to tell you that they are there for neck pain, back pain, or tendinitis, but their neck pain, back pain, headaches, or tendinitis are really precluding them from doing something. Let me give you an example. Go into your clinic today and ask your patient, strike that, ask yourself, why is Mr. or Mrs. Patient on my table? If you're getting answers to yourself like neck pain, back pain, or sciatica, you've missed the boat on the consultation. So another reason why we do a consultation is to help them say yes. It's very important that you do not make it sound and feel like an interrogation. And it's very important to have empathy and to have sympathy. Be human. Always project warmth and caring. I usually don't have a problem with that with alternative providers, but if you're practicing any greater than, let's say, 10 years, it's very easy to fall into the "I've heard this before" routine. Let me give you an example. If you've heard a patient tell you the story about lower back pain with radiation into their right leg all the way into their foot, right away many practitioners shut down saying, it's a disc, it's a radiculopathy, it's a space-occupying lesion, I know what I need to do, and they just stop listening to the patient. What you need to understand and remember is that for that patient, it's a brand new and not exciting experience. So it's very important that we listen to them and that we listen for what their true problem is. And it's very important to project warmth and caring. Resist the urge to guess why you think they're there. And if you follow the protocol that I'm going to teach you and you don't cut corners, it will become quite evident what the true reason is for their visit. Next thing that we need to do is we need to categorize our patients. Our patients are going to fall into one of 6 categories typically. 1, they're going to either have a real problem that they've lost their job, or they're going to have a fear that if this particular problem continues, they will lose their job. They will either be on disability or they'll have a fear that they're going to go on disability. They'll either have a real problem with medication that they've had an adverse drug reaction, or they're going to be afraid that they're going to have an adverse drug reaction. They can have relationship problems. They can be real. My husband or wife is going to divorce me because I'm always sick, or they're afraid that that's going to happen. It could be a care of the family issue. I can't take care of my kids. I can't take care of my elderly parents. Or it could be exercise or another activity of daily living disruption. When I say on the screen exercise, what's the real reason? Think about a professional baseball player. His reason for exercise is much different than a weekend warrior. Or he exercises because he doesn't want to become his father who died of a heart attack at age 60. She exercises because she just got divorced and wants to look good. And he exercises because he's a professional athlete. Everybody has a real reason as to why they're doing things. Let's go over the mechanics of the consultation. The first thing is to establish rapport. Rapport is that underlying connection. It's very important that you establish rapport, otherwise you will not have that connection and people will be less apt to accept your recommendations. If you're not sure how to establish rapport, I would highly recommend Tony Robbins' program, Unlimited Power. It's a great disc set and that will teach you the mechanics of rapport. The next thing is to establish commonality. People like people who are like themselves, and it's very important that they have a connection. Most people are afraid to go to a chiropractor, so it's important that you praise them however they came into your office. The next thing is you want to use the word suffering. I see that you have headaches, Mrs. Patient, versus I see that you're suffering with headaches, Mrs. Patient. Suffering is a viscerally evoking word, and it really brings out that emotional connection. So use the word suffering. Then you want to start with your OP-QRST consultation. O for onset, P for palliative and provocative, what makes it better, what makes it worse. Q for quality of pain. R for radiation, site, point to where it hurts, and T for the timing. And this is a great question. What would your life look like if the headaches went away? Always keep it conversational and use key indicators and weave them into the conversation. So let me give you an example of how it works. Patient comes in, I establish rapport. I may match and mirror their tone or their posture, and I establish commonality. So, Mr. Patient, I see that you have Titleist on your cap. Do you golf? Yes, you do. Wow, I golf also. Well, I golfed a lot until my kids were born. What's your handicap? We establish commonality. Mrs. Patient, I see that you have 2 adorable kids out there in the waiting room. How old are they? 8 and 6. Oh my goodness, I remember when my kids were 8 and 6. Hey, have you taken them to the XYZ restaurant? It is an awesome place. They make balloons for the kids, etc. Establish commonality. So, Mrs. Patient, may I ask, how did you find our office? You saw it from the sign on the outside. Oh my goodness, you would not believe how many patients come in from that sign. Another example, can I ask how you came to our office? Yeah, I came in from a mailing that you'd done. Oh my goodness, you wouldn't believe how many people come in from that mailing. May I ask how you came into the office? Yes, John Smith referred me. Oh my goodness, John Smith is such a great patient. He's referred so many patients to our office. It's important to praise them so they know that others are doing it too. So, Mrs. Patient, I see that you've been suffering with headaches. Can you tell me how long has this been going on? What makes it better? What makes it worse? What type of pain is it? Is it sharp? Is it dull? Is it achy? And so on and so forth. So, Mrs. Patient, what would your life look like if it went away, if those headaches went away? And here's where I start to put them into those categories that we talked about on the previous slide. So I'd be looking at, is this a job loss? So, Mrs. Patient, are you working? No, she's not. Okay, it's not job loss. We don't have to worry about disability. And now we go into medication. Mrs. Patient, have you taken any medication for this? You've taken Advil. Okay, has it helped you? No, it hasn't. Have you taken any prescription medications? Yes, you have. Okay, what have you taken? You've taken Flexeril. Okay, has that been helpful? Yes? Okay, great. Mrs. Patient, are you married? Yes. Can I ask how are things going at home? There's silence. Can I inquire as to how things are going? Not so well. Can I ask what's going on? Yeah, my husband is going to divorce me. Really? Is he really going to do that, or do you have a fear of that? No, he says that he's done. He's fed up. He can't take it anymore. I'm sick all the time. So in this example, ding, 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 the patient has relationship problems. Let me give you another example. So, Mrs. Patient, what would your life look like if the pain went away? Oh, will I be able to go back to exercising? Okay, can I ask why do you exercise? Well, yeah, it's really important that I exercise because I have depression and it helps keep my depression away. So now we know that it's a real situation. This person has to get back to exercising. Important, keep it conversational and use those key indicators. Once you do that, then you're ready to go over the report of findings. The report of findings is typically given on the second visit. I don't know where we lost it in chiropractic, but for some reason we believe that chiropractors really do care about D.D. Palmer and Harvey Lillard. They really do. We believe that they care about the chiropractic philosophy, and please do not misunderstand what I'm saying. I am not saying that those things are not important. They are. It's important that we teach about the chiropractic lifestyle, just not on the second visit. The other thing that we've lost it, and I don't know where or why, but we seem to think that patients want to spend 30 minutes watching a video. And the example I'll always give is this. Can you imagine if you have a toothache? Have you ever had a toothache? Okay, so imagine that time you had a toothache, and if you didn't, just picture yourself having your tooth feel like it's going to pop out of your head. You go to the dentist, they get you in, they sit you in the chair, the nurse comes and she puts a spit bib around you, and then she goes and she pulls down a screen and she says, the doctor will be in a few minutes, we're just going to play a short video on the history of dentistry. What are you thinking right now? Like, why? Just fix my tooth. I'm not interested in this. Now the video finishes, the dentist comes in, he says, "Hi, I'm Dr. So-and-so, so pleased to meet you. Let me tell you what we're going to do today. We're going to do 2 cc's of lidocaine into the Ipswich nerve, and we're going to do this. And by the way, let me tell you about the history of dentistry." What are you thinking about now? All you care about is what is wrong with me. Can you help me? How long is this going to take, and how much is it going to cost? That's all our patients care about also. And again, please do not mistake what I'm saying. I'm not saying not to teach them about the big picture. I'm not telling them not to teach them about the history of chiropractic, just not on this visit. So if your patients are coming out of the report of findings with their eyes glazed over, your report of findings is too long. If your staff is slipping dinner under the door to see if people are still alive and breathing, your report of findings is too long. Your report of findings should last no more than 10 or 15 minutes, and it should answer those 4 questions. The mechanics of doing a report of findings is the same as the consultation. Number 1, establish rapport. Number 2, establish commonality. Number 3, read their consultation and their symptoms word for word. This will separate you from every other doctor out there. Every other doctor treats them for their headaches, their back pain, or their neck ache. You will be the only one that treats them for an activity of daily living disruption. And I have to tell you that when you read their consultation symptom for symptom, word for word, you may even get a patient break down and cry. And that's because they're crying tears of joy because you will be the first doctor that has actually listened to them. If you want to be depressed, go into your clinic this afternoon and ask your patient why are they on your table. If they answer you because of neck pain, back pain, you told me to come, I don't know, well, then you've missed the boat on your consultation. Next, I will tell them why they are really there. I'll go over their test results, and I'll link why they're really there. Let me give you an example. I want you to think of any one of your patients. First name only, think of them. And now, what do you treat that particular patient for? If you're telling me neck pain or back pain, you've missed the boat. Think of another patient. What do you treat them for? If you're saying neck pain, back pain, or tendinitis, again, you've missed the boat. Let me give you two examples. I treat a patient named Mary. Mary is a lovely woman that's had migraine headaches for quite a while. Mary is coming to me because her mom also had migraine headaches, but her mom ended up getting addicted to pain medication. So what I'm treating Mary for is to give her the best opportunity of not becoming her mother and becoming addicted to pain meds. Let me tell you about another patient of mine. His name is William. William is a really phenomenal guy. William has to get back onto the tennis court. Why does William need to get back onto the tennis court? His 15-year-old son is running with a bad crowd, and William is afraid that his son is going to end up dead, on drugs, in jail, or all the above. The only place that William's son will even look at his father, let alone talk to his father, is on the tennis court. So William needs to get back on that tennis court to save his son. What I'm treating William for is to give him the best opportunity of saving his son. When I say that we need to do a consultation and a report of findings that creates value, let me ask you, if you're treating your patient for neck pain or back pain and you tell your patient, Mrs. Patient, you need to come in 3 times a week so we can help that neck pain or back pain, which do you think is more valuable, that or Mrs. Patient, we're going to see you 3 times a week to give you the best opportunity of not becoming your mom by getting addicted to pain meds. Or, Mr. Patient, William, we're going to see you 3 times a week in order to give you the best opportunity of saving your son. This is why it's important that you do a consultation and report of findings that creates value for that patient. Otherwise, they're going to be gone very, very quickly. I then go over their test results and I link why they are really there. So let me give you an example of how these mechanics work. Number one, I establish rapport. I'll match and mirror their tone or their posture. I'll establish commonality like I did before in the consultation. So, Mr. Patient, I see you have Titleist on your cap, or Mrs. Patient, I see that you live on Maple Road. Is that crazy house there with that purple picket fence? I remember walking by there as a kid saying, what were those people thinking? Establish commonality. Mrs. Patient, in the consultation, you told me that you were suffering with headaches. You told me you had neck pain, back pain, hangnails, warts, and bad breath. Now, what you also told me is that you're really here because those headaches are causing you some real unnerving, that you're really unnerved by it because you're afraid that you're going to become your mom. What you had confided in me is that your mom had become addicted to pain medication because of her migraines, so the reason why you're really here is to give you the best opportunity of not becoming your mom. Mrs. Patient, let me show you what we've done. And I don't care what test results you use, doctor. I don't care if you use orthopedic testing, neurological testing, a subluxation station. It doesn't really matter to me. Just use whatever your test results are and link them to why they're really there. Then what I'd like to do is I like to reframe them away from symptoms and use indicators other than pain. In my office, I utilize posture. You can utilize what other indicators you want to use, but if they're coming in for pain and that's where their focus is, they're going to leave as soon as their pain is gone. So if you would ask my patients why they're on my table, they'll tell you things like my right shoulder is dropped, or I have a head tilt, or something along the postural lines. I then go over a specific treatment plan. Mrs. Patient, what we're going to be doing over the next 6 weeks is we're going to be going over a specific treatment plan that's going to encompass adjusting at a frequency of 3 times a week. What that's designed to do is to restore the cervical curve that's been lost that I showed you in the x-ray. Then what we're going to be doing is blah, 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 blah. Go over a specific treatment plan. And this is all aimed, Mrs. Patient, at giving you the best opportunity of not becoming your mom. Get a commitment. This is where patients fail to follow through in the report of findings. Strike that. That's where chiropractors fail to follow through on the report of findings. It is important to get a commitment. What I'll say to my patient is, Mrs. Patient, it is vitally important for you to understand that chiropractic is a cumulative type therapy. Today builds on tomorrow, and tomorrow builds on the next day. For example, if you were to go on a diet and look to lose weight, you wouldn't eat on a diet today and then pig out tomorrow and the next day and the next day. You'd stay on that eating plan, and over time you lose weight. If you were to build definition in your biceps, you wouldn't exercise today and tomorrow and then not exercise for a month. So any physiologic process takes time, and it is the continuity that is most important. So Mrs. Patient, I've outlined that you needed to be here 3 times per week. If you can't or don't want to make it 3 times a week, now's the time to let me know. And if that's the case, I will revamp your treatment plan. However, if you're telling me that you're going to be here 3 times a week, then we're going to shake hands on that, and that is a commitment. You need to be here 3 times a week. Now, I understand that life gets in the way, and sometimes you're going to have to miss an appointment. That's okay. In this office, you're required to make that visit up. Why? Again, it's the continuity that's so important that's going to enable you to get well. So, Mrs. Patient, do I have your commitment that you're going to be able to make it 3 times a week? If you can't, tell me now. And if they say yes, I shake their hands, and that's a binding contract in their mind, and that's going to greatly cut down on your no-shows and having to run after and chase people down. I then give similar cases. Mrs. Patient, I've been doing this for a long time, 26 years, and one case that sticks out in my mind is a case that's very similar to yours. She was the same age. She too was addicted to pain medications, beat the habit, and now she started to get her headaches back, and she was deathly afraid that she was going to become addicted to meds. That's why she came to this office. What we did was blah, 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 and over the next time frame, she got well, and she was able to skirt that issue. So I'm real excited that you've come in, and I'm very confident that we'll be able to help you too. What we want to focus on now are 12 areas that you need to focus on in order to transform your business. We've already talked about the improvement of business skills. You must learn how to read a profit and loss statement, balance sheet, be able to do budgets, calculate return on investment, and be able to know these business terms and how to use them. Number 2, chiropractors have been taught forever to do tactical-based marketing. Tactical-based marketing is throw enough stuff up against the wall, and hopefully some of it will stick. I have to tell you that a strategist will slaughter a tactician every single time. And what we teach our clients is strategic-based marketing. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you wanted to do an email marketing campaign. Well, a tactician will buy or procure a email list. Let's say it's 5,000 names. They'll make an email newsletter or an email, and they'll blast it out to 5,000 people, thump their chest, say, wow, I'm email marketing. No, you're not. You're spamming. You see, a strategist will say, okay, what's my target audience? Do I want to target 40-year-old headache people? Do I want to target 65-year-old osteoporotic women? Now they're going to know that because commercial clutter is clogging up everybody's email box, then in order for their campaign to be effective, that email better get opened and better get read. That means they're going to put strategy number 1, make a really good subject line. Strategy number 2, once they open it, what do you want them to do with it? How do you want them to react? Do you want them to call, click? What do you want them to do? And everything will have a strategy behind it, and everything will be able to be tracked. So you'll know exactly what's good, what's bad, what's helpful, what's not, what you need to tweak, etc. So strategic-based marketing is vitally important. In new patient acquisition, what we do with our clients is we help them to set up a minimum of 5 and preferably 10 strategic-based marketing campaigns. I say campaigns because campaigns have a very, very specific reason. It could be for branding purposes. It could be for the actual acquisition of new patients. It could be for education. You must have a reason as to why you're doing it. Next, we've talked about this already. You must have an effective consultation and report of findings that was formulated in this economy. You must develop organizational skills. And if you hire and train your staff effectively, guess what? You won't need to fire them. Next, you must use goal setting in the proper methodology. Chiropractors are really good at setting goals, and what made them? No, I didn't. They'll put them in and they'll say goals don't work if they didn't make them, and they'll stop setting goals. We teach our doctors goal setting processes where they're actually workable goals. I want you to think of a speedometer for a second. If you were to drive from New York to California, how often would you look at your speedometer? And if you found that you're doing 95 miles an hour, when would you slow down? Next week? Next month? No, you do it instantaneously. And conversely, if you're going 20 miles an hour in a 65 mile an hour zone, when would you speed up? Next week? Next month? No, you do it instantaneously. Well, that's very analogous to your goals. You see, if you're writing goals and you're putting it in your drawer and looking at it in a month, then you don't have time to make a correction. But if you're looking at them multiple times a day, now you can make an instantaneous correction to help you get closer and closer to your goals. Time management. If you're not getting a full 60 minutes out of every hour, you're losing time. Office procedures, they must be formulated in this economy. Communication skills and advanced leadership I like to lump together, because if I was speaking to you in Chinese right now, we would not be having a very effective webinar unless you spoke the language. You see, your patients and your staff come in with their own language, and if you don't know and understand their language, you will have a very difficult time getting your point across and getting them to do what they need to do. Advanced leadership is about motivation. Motivation is about getting somebody to do something that they may or may not want to do for their best interest. And your practice and your staff is waiting for a leader to show up. And accountability is so important. You know, if you did the things that you said you were going to do, I am confident your practice will grow. It's no different than losing weight. If you stay in your diet and you do your exercise regimen, guess what? You lose weight. But human beings lose accountability, and we don't do the things that we say we're going to do. So a big area of what we do with our clients is holding them accountable to doing those things that they say that they're going to do. Consistency, folks, is the key. I'm not asking you to spend an inordinate amount of time. Spend 1 hour per week, that's it, on each of the 12 areas. Set up accountability, and then create the practice that you desire. But we do have challenges. We don't know where to begin. We don't know what to do. We don't have enough time. We feel overwhelmed. We feel isolated and alone. And we do get results of those challenges. According to a study that was conducted by Catalyst, in 55% of chiropractors are stressed to the point of feeling extremely fatigued and out of control. This is a depressing study that more chiropractors are going out of business than in business in the state of California. The reason why this is so depressing is because as the coasts go, California, New York, and Florida, so does the rest of the country. We have some solutions, though. Create better organization. Have written goals and look at them multiple times per day. Hire a professional coach or a consultant. And I have to tell you, if you're in the market for a coach or a chiropractic consultant, you need to determine what coach is right for you. You see, the highway is littered with chiropractic coaches that have literally failed out of practice and now they're coaching. So if you're in the market for a coach, there are things that you need to know about. Number one, their program should be custom, not customized. You're a chiropractor, but your practice has its own flavor, its own personality, and so do you. And if you hook up with a management company that customizes their plan but doesn't have a custom plan, what ends up happening is you're a round peg being fit into a square hole. Example, if your management company is a high volume entity and you're not a high volume practitioner, you're going to have a very hard time fitting in. On the other hand, if your practice management company is nutritionally based, that's how they ran their practices, and you're not a nutritionally based practice, you're going to have a hard time. So it's very important that their programs are custom, not customized. Next, the coach or consultant should still be seeing patients today, so they have their finger on today's pulse, not the pulse of years gone by. This is so vitally important. You know, since 2008, the world literally has fallen off of a cliff. And I'll give you an example. Are you doing re-examinations? If you are, let me take a guess. You're probably doing them every 12 visits or every month, whichever comes first. If you're saying yes, you do that, my question is, why are you doing that? The reason why you're doing that is because that's been taught to us since the Jim Parker days in the late 70s. And it's not that that information is bad, it's that that information is dated. Remember, 1 out of 2 of your patients are very uncomfortable with their debt. They have high gas prices to boot, and we have a terrible economy. So what happens now is they're not going to last to 12 visits for you to do a re-examination on them. So that procedure needed to be changed based on the present economy. Another example, I built my practices in New York by doing a radio show. Back when I did them, radio was interactive. You'd put an 800 number out there, and lo and behold, they'd resonate with your personality and become a patient. Well, in 2009, when I came back into practice, I did my Saying Great radio show not understanding or knowing that radio had changed. Radio had changed from interactive to infomercial. And until I figured that out, I was doing very poorly. Once I figured it out, then it was fine. Now imagine if I was coaching you and you said, hey Paul, I'd like to do a radio show. And I say, that's great. I did a radio show. As a matter of fact, that's how I built my practices in New York. Let me teach you how to do a really great interactive show. And I teach you really great information. But it's not germane to today's economy or procedure. You will fall flat on your face too. So the thing that you need to understand is that most coaches or consultants literally have not seen a patient in 25 years. So again, I'm not saying that the information that they're teaching you is bad. What I am saying is that the information is dated. And if it's not derived in the present economy, you're going to have a real problem in making it work. It's important that the company analyzes you and your practice before they tell you what they can do for you. If you hear this from anybody, it will only take one more new patient in order to pay for your coaching. Please run as quickly as you can the other way. You see, I teach the business of chiropractic. And in any business entity, you have to know the downside risk. And in the downside risk in that scenario, what happens if you don't get that one more new patient to pay for your coaching? Now you're going to be spending lunch money or rent money, and that's a problem. So it is very, very important that the company analyzes you and your practice before they tell you what they can do for you. And you should never have to sign long-term contracts. You know, if your coaching company is as good as they think they are, then you're going to want to stay with them. It's real simple. They shouldn't have to tie you up with a contract. Very important. Do not sign long-term contracts. There should be a money-back guarantee. You should never feel pressured, and you should feel comfortable talking to your coach about anything. And you should ask your prospective coach about his or her business experiences. You know, I don't think you'd want to go to a marriage counselor that's been divorced 22 times. Well, the same thing here. Like I said before, there are many coaches that have literally failed out of practice. You want to go to a coach and have somebody coach you who has done what it is that you're looking to do. They should be punctual. They should be accessible via email, in between calls. They should be organized, and they should give you a clear plan of how they're going to help you achieve your goals. And they should know how to run a business, not just a practice. Ask them what qualifies them to be a coach or a consultant. Ask them how many active clients they have, and do they have specific strategies for your practice growth, and how are they different from their competition. I said before you should not have to sign a long-term contract, but I do recommend that you give yourself a minimum mental time frame of 1 year to work with your coach. It takes time to create direction and strategies which will ultimately create growth. you should get a 4-to-1 return on your investment. So for example, if you're spending $1,000 per month, you should be making an extra 4, and you should be able to ask your coach or your consultant anything without fear of embarrassment. Let's compare some statistics. On the left are Inselman coaching statistics. From 2008 through 2012, my clients are up an average of 145%. On the right, the average chiropractor, according to Chiropractic Economics, from 2008 through 2012 was down 25.8%. Some Inselman coaching statistics. My programs are 100% custom made for the individual client. No two clients are coached the same. Everything is done from the ground up for that individual client. I offer a 100% money back guarantee. I still see patients. I am accessible 24/7, and I'm very proud of the fact that I was the one that blazed the trail with no contracts. Up until about a year or two ago, most companies had you sign an 18 or a 24-month contract. We never had contracts because my belief is I should never have to coerce, seduce, or force anybody to stay with me. If I'm as good as I think I am, guess what? You're going to want to stay. And if I'm not good, then why should I bind you by virtue of a contract? Or if you just don't want to coach anymore, why should I bind you by virtue of a contract? So we never had contracts, and we never will. Like I said before, my clients are up an average of 145% from 2008 through 2012, and I am very proud of that statistic. 12 of my practices are multi-million-dollar practices, and they grew on average 5% in 2012. I get results, or we don't work. If you don't do your part, I will let you go, and I will not coach you. And if I don't do my part, I'm going to request and require that you fire me. So this is results oriented. We are going to get results, or we are not going to work together. So if you were an Inselman coaching client in 2008, on average your income would have risen $275,932. That's a 145% increase. What does that buy? A whole lot of gas at $4 a gallon. You can eliminate credit card debt. You can buy a his or her Carrera Turbo, no less. You can get 4 years tuition for 2 kids at any college. You can get a nice cash down payment for a house, and you can build quite a retirement fund. How do we do it? We do it with the Elite Coaching Program. It is a total and complete custom one-on-one coaching program. We block out 15 or 30-minute calls per week. You get my proprietary methods that are created by me, used by me. I make sure that they work here in South Florida. Then I turnkey them out to beta test sites all over the country, in the North, the South, the East, the West, and the Midwest, and Canada. I make sure that they work, that they're duplicatable, and we test them for a 6 to 8 month period of time. Once we know that they're duplicatable, we then go ahead and we start to give them out to all of our clients. Let me give you an example of how this worked. I realized about 2 years ago that chiropractors leave about 10% of their income on the table due to no-shows. What that means, if your practice is doing $300,000 a year, you're leaving approximately $30,000 on the table. What I started to figure out is how can I decrease that, and I was playing with a texting program where we would text our patients to remind them of their appointment. Well, we used that for about 7 or 8 months, and we brought our no-show rate from 8% down to under 2%. So I knew that we had gold there and that this was going to be something great. But before I can recommend it to all of my clients, I need to make sure that it's duplicatable. So what I did was I sent it out to beta test sites all over the country, had them use it for 8 months, and when we saw it was duplicatable, we then started to roll it out for all of our clients. Now our clients are using them, and they've enjoyed decreasing their no-show rate down to manageable levels. When you go to a coaching company, please ask them how much they've invested in their learning curve. My methods have been formulated in this economy, and they have been created on a $2.5 million learning curve. What is the investment for our coaching program? The investment ranges between $250 and $1,500 per month. And what we do is we discuss those in a free consultation with no obligation, where we sit down by phone and we go over exactly what your needs are, and we figure out what custom program is going to help you achieve your goals, and then the fee is derived from that. So, don't you think it's time to end the roller coaster practice? We do. How do you do it? Well, you could sign up for the free consultation. You could do that by emailing me at inselmancoaching@gmail.com. You can go to our website, www.inselmancoaching.com. If you scroll down on the right side, you'll see a link there to schedule for your no-obligation free consultation. Or if you want to write the URL down, timedriver.com, that's on the screen, you can go to that, and that will put you right into my appointment book, and you could schedule for your free no-obligation consultation. We take about 30 to 45 minutes. We go through a history with you. We'll figure out if I'm able to help you. I'll tell you and tell you specifically how I can, and we'll tell you what the fees will be. If I can't help you, I will tell you that also, tell you why and what I think that you need to do, and then we'll go from there. I want to thank you for joining today's webinar. You've taken the first step on creating a very, very meaningful consultation and report of findings for yourself and for your patients. You know, folks, chiropractic is at a crossroad, and I am confident that by learning these methodologies and helping yourself one step at a time, you'll be doing wonders for your practice, for your community, and for your patients. My name is Dr. Paul Inselman. We thank you for joining this webinar, and we'd like to see you again in the future. If you have any questions, feel free to call us at 888-201-0567. Again, you can go to the links that are on your screen, and you can schedule for that free consultation at your leisure. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great day.